Still some queuing going on, but right. We are also streaming this live to a platform called YouTube. If you want to share it with someone, go into the Sanity Stack community. There's a link to the Stack community. There's this guy who keeps pinging everyone once in a while. But that means that we will do kind of like a bit of like awkward sing and dance here in between each talk to get everyone up on the streaming. And this is also getting streamed to the next room, I think. Unless we were able to actually fit everyone in. Yeah. Right. Hi. Hi. Good to see you. It has been a while. I think the last time we did anything like this was in the time before the thing happened. 2019, I think it was. We weren't here. We weren't at our new offices, which is the old offices of Fudura. We were in the hip part of Grünerløkka, behind the Godtrø. And yeah, it has been a while. I think Sanity was around 40 people max at that point, and now we are like 150 and counting. So a lot happened since that time. So I'm also like a bit like mind blown. Like I thought we were having this in the office, like with 40 people coming, and then there were more people coming, and then we asked three who were very kind and let us in here. And they were like, we can probably fit 80, and then so it'd be 120, and we got a bit stressed, but it seems like it worked out. Super happy about that. But like, yeah, super happy to be here in this wonderful.
This floor is regulated for 70 people, so don't jump.
Yeah. We're going to do the jumping exercise outside after. So we have quite a great program waiting for you, interesting talks, and also mine. And I don't think we'll do the Q&A thing between because that's a lot of programming. But you're welcome to stay with us after the talks. We're going to go down to Sentralen, Vinterhagen,
Yes, just two
Um,
blocks that way.
2 blocks that way, and kind of continue the nerdery there. And you can kind of like corner all the speakers and kind of ask them what they meant about something. So that is going to happen. And yeah, I think that's all almost. One very important thing. Right here behind this wall, there's the toilet. If you need it. Yeah, use that one if you need it. And the emergency exits, you know about. There's nothing under your chairs. There might be some TypeScript stuff under your chairs. I'm not sure how that works in an emergency, but yeah, I think that's it for that kind of stuff. Be kind to each other and grown up and so on. And yeah, I think we're ready to present our first speaker. So, a little bit of prelude because we built this thing to be customized, right? There's a lot of Surface and APIs and React components and Sanity UI and blah blah blah. And it's interesting to see how people use that stuff. Like a lot of people like set up some CMOs and off they go and like they can care less about the CMS thing. And other people, they're diving into the stuff. They're like going into our GitHubs and piecing out internal APIs that we never intended anyone to use in order to kind of like get it as they want it. There's a lot of respect to that. We dig it. But I think our first speaker is probably one of those. I have a suspicion. Yeah, a very warm welcome to Thomas Pacero from DNB and Veracity. I've done like a lot of studio customization. I'm like both very intrigued and very terrified for what's going to happen. But yeah, so now we're going to do the awkward kind of like cables and stuff, and then we will be ready in 2 minutes. All right, awesome. Yeah, that's right. Let's see what the chat says.
Otherwise, I will try.
Yeah.
So I was teaching about Salesforce. So no, I was saying pricing is hard, specifically when you not sell everything, anything. So one of our document type in Sanity is named product. It contains the whole marketing web page, text, screenshot, legal terms. One product has variants, it's an array. Each variant has plans, it's an array. Each plan has extension, and all of that it's deeply nested. There are not references. And each layer has dozens of things. Plan and extension, they can be free, one-time purchase, subscription. We have some of our salesperson, they say, we want to sell we renew the product every month, and someone will say, no, we renew it every 30 days. It's not the same. We need to support all cases. And they can have trials, SLA, and so on. We support several currencies. We support a form builder because each plan can have additional checkout fields. So we have a form builder for each plan. And we have integration with third-party systems. When you buy a software desktop, for instance, we need to talk to a third-party service that will generate activation keys. So what does it mean? The product document type alone, it has hundreds of field combinations. It's also deeply nested. That's why we needed to configure Sanity to fit that type of document type. It has very few references. We have close to 50 roles on Sanity for 60 members. Why? Because our non-admin, they can only edit a few products. It's not like we cannot just say you can edit the type product, it's just a few of them. And this presentation is going to be technical. So part one, custom theme. As you may know, in version 3.23, they introduced a UI refresh. It was well received by our 50 members, except for a few things. And it wasn't nothing like bad, but I saw a message on their Slack channel. In the channel I made this by Sergit saying, actually, you know what, you can just use plain CSS to modify it, and I didn't think about that. So out of the box, that's Sanity on the left, and that's our version on the right. Basically, we increased the font size, we reduced the spacing between elements, and we put the switch button green again. Very nice. So this is the Sanity config. If you want to do the same, it's one CSS file at the top, and that's our CSS file. First part, we just increase the font size. Then it's a lot of selectors to just say we reduce the gap between elements. And last, to target that specific span inside the switch to put it green. We are also using React Node for field sets. Groups in Sanity, they are great, but not enough for us. We need more visual target telling us that this field is for that and that field is for something else. So we use background colors. I don't know if you can see it, a bit of green, a bit of blue, a bit of purple. But you may know that that's how a field set is configured, right? Just strings, the name, the title, and the description. We cannot configure the React component. But actually you can. Instead of passing a string, you just give a React component. TypeScript will tell you, well, that's not okay. So you will tell TypeScript, I know what I'm doing. That's a string. And our component basically is just a children wrapped inside the div with some CSS properties. That's as simple as that. Part two, custom fields. So let's talk about the slug field. You all know it. And slug is usually used for URLs, right? So, but can we preview the final result? So we created the a custom component on top of the slot field that will under display the full URL where it will be used, either a path name or search parameter. So that's like the most basic one. That's a slug where you set a specific component. And that's options where extra path in that case comes from our slug input. Since I don't know how to override the types in different fields to tell Sanity, I'm using slug input, I can use extra path, I have to use ts expect error. So that's a slug input where we take the props from slug input props and we say, okay, I know what we are doing, schema type has options, it has extra path, which can be a string. Then we fetch what we need from, like we have a custom hook to the backslash URL, we fetch the extra path, which could be an empty string, and we build the full URL. We render the default, and we wrap it inside the stack, and inside and under, we generate a link with a full URL. That's as simple as that. One thing that, again, I want to agree that works in both light theme and dark theme. And instead of coming up with my own color, I went to use theme provided by Sanity until I found a green that works. In that case, it's the one from badge positive dot. Word for us. String field. One, you can use a string field to provide a specific list, right? And it's a hard-coded list inside Sanity schema. It doesn't work for us because in that case, we have a group and the list depends on the rest of the document. So we need to generate string fields that are dynamic. So the way we did that, again, the way you use it first, it's a type string in your field, you pass a custom component, and instead of list, we created list gen. List gen is getting a document, and from the document, in this specific example, we are diving into product variance groups to create list options based on other parts of the document. And the string input list generator component is only 17 lines. We render the default. We are not doing anything with the UI, but what we are doing is that we are getting the client, we are getting the document using use form value from Sanity, and then we are getting list gen. If it's defined, we give list gen the client, the document, the path, even whatever you want with that, and we give the return value to the famous list we've seen before. And that's how we make a string input that's dynamic. Banner component, like most websites, we have a banner at the top, or we can have a banner at the top. The problem is that we want to see a preview from the studio itself and to get them fast. So that's how it looks like, where inside the studio, where we have some colors, icons, and on the right side, we have the checkbox to build them on and off really fast, instead of having to dive inside each of them. I'm not giving you the code because it's 100% based on a guide published on Sanity's website. It's great. Then the digital code component. I'm running late, so
It's okay.
I will show you the more. But the digital code is something, okay, that references a product. It has a product reference. And it has a variant, but the variant cannot be a reference, right? Because it's inside the product. So what we have is that the variant in the string is the underscore key of one of the items in the variant. Same for plan. Plan is a string. It's actually the underscore key of that variant. And the grok query to fetch a digital code is 250 lines. And if you go down, it looks like this. It has when we spread select, we have caret dot everywhere. We create fake underscore keys. It works. It's great. So just so that you visualize what's a quote. I'm creating a quote. I haven't updated to the version fixing the loading message. It was released yesterday, I think, so it's not my fault. Demo, and then our favorite select component here. So product and plans. I'm creating a quote for a specific customer I'm choosing a product. And I'm in test environment here. I'm not involved. I'm not present. And from there, all the fields you are going to see are custom made. You may not see it, but all of them are custom. So first, the variant selector. It will dig into the product reference to extract variants. Then the currency. It will look at all the currencies in that product to only suggest the relevant currencies. Pricing plan, it will look at the variant. And then, as you can see, our pricing plan is displaying more information for the person creating the code, like Salesforce code, not set in that case, type, one type purchase. And we have this field set here, pricing plan overrides. And to make sure that the salesperson using this page and making the right decision, we have a custom field everywhere to remind them what they are modifying. But don't forget that price plan you are editing is €5 right now. So if you want to make a discount, yeah, 4, not 6. Same for quantity, plan name, plan description, terms and conditions, extensions. Extensions, again, that one is based on the plan I've selected, and since it's asynchronous, it's fine. And again, all the fields are custom. So let's dive into it. That's a variant field. It's basically just a type string with a specific component. And obviously it's hidden if there's no product. That's being set. So how to generate the list of variants when we only have a reference for a product? It's actually a few lines of code. What we do is that we return the render default. Again, we are not, for that component, we are not changing the UI. And we are overriding options, saying layout drop down for the string, and the list, we are making it on the fly based on variants. How do we get the variants? We have a use product hook. And that's a meat here. Like that's the hook behind everything in that page you've seen before. We use form value from Sanity by targeting the product ref, so we get the product ID. We are getting the document store from Sanity again. We are using the document store to trigger a grok query to fetch that specific product. We wrap everything in a use memo observable to make sure that we are not wasting resources for performance. And then it's basic, like if we don't get anything, we return undefined or we return the product. And that hook is everywhere. It's in the pricing plan, it's in the price alone, and it's in extensions. One word about extensions. We want to hide it if there are no extensions in the plan you selected. The problem is that the hidden property of the field is synchronous. You don't have access to more than the document. In our case, it means you don't have access to more than the product reference, which is not enough. So instead of using hidden, we override this time not the input, but the field. And in 7 lines of code, we just say, okay, we fetch the plan, it's using use product I showed before. If there is more than one extension, we just render before. Otherwise, we return null. That's how we make a custom async hidden function. And one word about terms and conditions. Terms are documents, and it means that from a product we have a reference again to terms. And this UI I didn't want to make it by hand. I don't want to draw the icon. I don't want to fetch the name of the terms. I don't care. And there is a way with Sanity to make it automatically. That's the part you've seen in red. That's the code behind. We get intent link from Sanity router. We get the preview component from Sanity. We get the terms schema, which is our own definition of the schema. And we call use schema on top of that. And the code is just we use the preview component where the value is my reference, and we wrap it inside an intent link, again with the reference to the term, and Sanity will generate that UI for us. So it's quite convenient. I didn't know about that. It's not that well documented. So finally, custom tools. No more code, just demo. Let's start with product analytics. So that's a tool we made for marketing reasons, for the marketing users of our Sanity studios. It's internet is slow. Yes. I blame the internet. Not my code. So basically here, it's another way of going through all the products. It's basically, we built it using Sanity UI components. The one from the library Sanity/UI. We are using many work queries that are not typed, and I'm counting on you for your talk, and you will have a way to type finally work queries. So it's used, for instance, like if you want to see which product they have screenshots, and we built copy and paste, or also cut and paste function from here. Because again, we are not using references here. And for us, Sanity, when you deal with arrays, is missing a way of copying and pasting from one array to another, from one document to another. So we built it here, like if I copy that plan, I can paste it either on a different variant or on variant in another document. Same if I copy or move one of the variants, I can go to another product and paste it. So that's why we built product analytics. Then we built Product Explorer. That one is based on one of the official Sanity plugin named Content Graph something. That's the Salesforce part of our salesperson. So we can see how many quotes are using which product. Like we get a feeling if something is wrong. If some products are not really, they are feeling alone in that sea of stars. And again, we built it using Sanity UI components. And I won't bore you with too many details because it's very technical and very specific to Salesforce. But the point is, we built a tool inside Sanity to get all of that very business-heavy logic that allows us to explore products. Then we made our own user management. Remember, we have 50 roles. And in the meantime, I can show you why we built our own. So that's Sanity owns UI. I have permission, and look at the roles here. Open up. It was full of roles. Even like the whole voice electron is like a pain. So I'm not saying our UI is better actually. You will judge if it's better or not. So here on our user management, on the left side we have users. I think it's made on a plugin. Oh, I think it's Sanity actually. So on the left we have users, on the right we have roles. I think it's based loosely on a plugin from Simon from a long time ago. But we can explore all of our users and assign or deassign roles. On the right, we can inspect that one, like for instance, fit inside editor, where we can see that this user can access to only 4 documents. And we can create roles because Sanity has a really great API to handle all of that. That's why we built this UI in our studio, where I can create a new specific role and assign some products here, and let's say 2 products, create add new role, and we have my role ready. And then finally, we have something called Vision Plus. It's like Vision, but you have to pay $5 a month. No, actually, it's a fork of Vision. So, where do I start? It's adapted to us. It's not open source. You may not like it. Data sets, you cannot change it. It's API version is always the latest. Perspective, it's always published. That's how it works for us. If I run that query, I have the JSON, like in Vision, but I can also explore using a table at any point in time. And then we have snippets. let's fetch that one. No, that's the one we are in. Yes. So that's a big one. I'm running it. And when I click share here, there is a big difference with the current Vision. If you share a URL in Vision, you will get the API code only. So you will get the JSON file. But that's not what we wanted. If I click share, I have the URL in my clipboard. I go back just to show you something. Like I run that query again, I refresh the page, and like Vision, it will get it will populate the query from the one that's in the local storage. It's the last one we run. But now I'm doing something else. I'm passing the URL that was for instance, I can share it to my colleague. I send that URL, they open it. It's gone from the URL and it's inside the query. So it means that I can share specific queries, like I can load a query from snippet, modify it, and then send it to a colleague. They will land directly on that page with my query. They can run it. And it's mostly useful for marketing people. And you cannot see it because it's at the bottom right, but there is a download CSV and download JSON file. So they can just press download CSV, and then the result of my Grok query will open in Excel. So that was a big request from our marketing people. So that's our vision test. And so we built all of that thanks to the API and recent development from Sanity, right? So I would like to use some time to give a round of applause for Sanity's team for shipping features like crazy lately. AI is the new UI, internationalization, migration. Migration is great. We are already using it a lot, and many more. That's it.
Right.
That was great. Let's see. Yeah. All right. That was a ride.
Vi har en sånn kildesorteringskasse her ute til ølbokser. Som sier det, altså.
All right. I have a special announcement for the room. If you have an empty beer can, it has a home out there in a box that looks like somewhere you can put beer cans. It says pant on it. All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. That was very instructive. We should probably ship some of those things or unship some of those things. But yeah, I find it super neat how you manage to kind of like do useful stuff with not that much code. And I'm super happy to see that. And then some other things with a bit more code. But yeah, we'll figure out how to kind of like make that easier. All right. Soon we will have the next speaker up. Oh, there's a queue. Okay. Awkward. But yeah. Show of hands. How many have customized an input component in the studio? That's quite many. almost want to ask if you liked doing it. Well, show of hands. How many of you liked customizing input components? No pressure. Okay, a bit fewer. Interesting. You should get on that. All right, I'm just killing time now. I'm not really a stand-up comedian. Any questions? There's a question in the back. Mike. To the previous speaker. Thomas, are you there? Can you come up again? Oh yeah, but we have to do it by the mic because of the stream and stuff. So you can ask your question, I can repeat it, and then Thomas can answer. All right, shout it.
All right. So when you have your own references, and someone updates something later that you want to be a part of this referencing, how do you build that listening?
So the question was, can you repeat the question maybe? Maybe that's better.
Yeah, so basically the way we are playing with the references doesn't always play well. For instance, with the variant and the plan, that's just a string, which is not a real reference, right? So yeah, we haven't solved that in the sense that we have validation in place. When you create a quote, we have validation. But if someone modifies the product, for instance, and is removing a plan, then the quote doesn't work anymore. So that's still something we have to solve, probably with the webhooks or something like that. But that's a good catch, like very good question.
All right, multitasking. The Wi-Fi. Oh yeah, should we tell them the Wi-Fi? Probably not. So it's three guests. Velkommen til oss I ett ord med stor V. Let's see, we're getting on the Wi-Fi, and then you can plug in the USB-C thing. All right. So while we're getting up and running, this laptop is heavy. Do you have internet?
Yes.
All right. Then you can plug in. Sorry, I have to do this. Do you have a? Yeah. Then you can open StreamYard. Do all the things.
Så det var refleksen. Nei, det er ikke
Du har
det er internet connection. Du kan bruke telefonen din, altså.
det er streaming, så bare prøv å skru av og på wifi.
So for the stream, we're setting up the next speaker, so we will be back right away.
Sånn, da må vi gjøre en liten sekvens. Så, hello. Da kan du velge selv. Så her, så velger du den der. Så audio. Så den velger den nye der. Yes, så kan du exit ut. Så skriver den litt inn sånn. Ja,
Hva heter det?
sånn, da er du der inne. Veldig bra.
Ja.
Da er det se, der er du. Ja, sortere, så tror du den.
Full
Ja,
screen?
har du to forskjellige skjermer til å ha det? Eller har du
Nei,
samme scene?
samme. Den kommer.
Eller? Er du sånn, veldig bra.
Sånn. Den.
Da kan du sikkert, ja.
Tire screen. Ja.
Så er du, ok, da kan jeg få se.
Ja, skal vi
Det er greit å bruke håndholdt.
Ja, det går fint, det.
Foretrekker du
Jeg kan godt bruke håndholdt.
fordi jeg tror den er 2 gram.
Da bruker jeg håndholdt.
Det som er viktig med denne her, er at du må snakke sånn rett inn sånn. Sånn
Ok.
kapteinaktig.
Ja.
Hvis du gjør sånn, så forsvinner lyden. Så du må huske det. Du hører nesten når du ikke hører selv.
All right, I think we're up and running. So that is the Anna, partner designer and developer from Cult Bureau, right? Cult Bureau. And they have done a lot of cool projects, but tonight we are going to talk about what is the English?
The English term, so it's Norske Kunsthåndverkere or the Norwegian Association for Arts and Crafts.
All right. So super excited to learn more about how this went down. And with no further ado, I think we take the stage. Yeah, awesome. Big applause.
Yeah, so well, hello. As Knut said, my name is Anna, and I am a designer and developer at the Kult Bureau here in Oslo. And I'm going to show you one of our most recent customer projects that we did for Norske Kunsthåndverkere, or the Norwegian Association for Arts and Crafts. But before we begin, just a short introduction about myself and my crew. There's one here and way over there. So we are Kult Bureau. We are a small agency. We're 8 people, plus some cats and dogs. And we are a design and technology agency. So we primarily work with designing and developing visual identities, logo design, a bit of animation, as well as web design and web development. And we've been using Sanity for about 3.5 years now. And one thing that is really important to us and that we take great pride in is to craft intuitive and great editing experiences for our customers, which in turn is making our customers love Sanity just as much as we do. So the project I'm going to talk about is, as I said, one of our most recent projects that we did for Norske Kunsthåndverkere, the Norwegian Association for Arts and Crafts. From now on, I'm just going to call them NK, just to save us all some time. So for this project, we actually did the whole shebang. So we revamped the visual identity, we did the web design, as well as the actual web development. And the result is, of course, a website. Well, it's actually 2 sites. It's a multi-site, but I don't have time to go into that today. But the result is a website built using Sanity, of course, as well as Next.js with TypeScript. So what I'm going to focus on in this presentation is what I would say is 3 of the most important, or at least interesting, aspects of the web part of this project, which is the fact that we are using dynamic colors. So I think it's really cool that Sanity actually automatically generates a color palette for every image uploaded. And I've been wanting to utilize this somehow in a project for such a long time, and I was finally able to do it. And then secondly, NK has a bunch of members, and also our curators and our consultants are using NK's website quite actively to seek out and discover new craft art. So we built a solution for the artists to actually make their own portfolios. And then lastly, NK is responsible for educating about, as well as handing out a bunch of scholarships. And they're also organizing a yearly exhibition that is actually showcasing this craft art. So for both of these situations, they needed a way for the artists to apply for these things. So we built a very flexible form builder paired with a front end for the actual drawing. So I'm going to go through these parts one by one. We're not going to dive too deep, but we're going to look at some code and then see some actual results in the studio and our front end. So first of all, we have our dynamic colors, and this is one of the built-in features of Sanity that I think is a little underrated. I've been wanting to integrate this into a project for such a long time. I've been pitching it to multiple clients, incorporate it into sketches, designs, but I haven't really reached through until this very project. So I was really excited to make this custom input component that is actually a dynamic color picker. So if we go into our code here, let's see if I can just put the mic down to search. So this component here is actually responsible for a lot more than just fetching these colors and letting us pick from them. But that is the exact core functionality and what we're going to look at now. So if we go down here to our use get colors hook, then we have a query here that is fetching the color palette off of an image's metadata. So if we, okay, I realize it's a little bit hard with the mic in one hand. So if we go into our query here, we see these 7 colors that Sanity provides us with. And our source image here is actually a neighboring image field that we have defined. So as I mentioned, I can just hold it again. Maybe. Yeah.
I just say it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Sanity provides us with 7 colors for each image. But of course, we want these 7 colors that the editor can choose from to be compliant with the requirements for accessibility and color contrast. So we are actually taking these colors and funneling them through some functions that ensure that each and every color has sufficient contrast against the text color in our front end. And then we thought that using these 7 colors sort of as is or close to as is everywhere where the user can select a color could be a bit much because the core idea of this web design was to use these dynamic colors quite heavily and actively, but they're not very predictable. We could possibly end up with a design that is way too heavy, oversaturated with colors. You could basically end up with something that is just painful to look at. So to combat that issue, we added this parameter here called color level. So whenever you use the field that is in turn using this custom input component, you can actually add color level as an option. So color level can be either default, meaning we take the 7 colors that Sanity provides us with and only adjust them for accessibility. Or we can say that all of the colors should be light, so we adjust them to be lighter or even extra light. So if we go into our hero here, so our hero is the top section of most of our pages. So this is the schema definition for that object. So here we have defined that the color level of the selectable colors in the hero should be default. So if we go into our studio here, so here is our image, which is the source of these colors. And here in our custom component, we see that the selectable colors are actually quite dark and saturated. Whereas for articles, we wanted the colors across the articles to harmonize together because oftentimes you see articles together, like in a gallery or grid. So for articles, we have defined that the selectable colors should be of a lighter color level. So if we go back to our studio, internet, then we can see that the selectable colors here are actually lights. They're lighter and they're more alike. So the end result in our front end looks like this. So this is our front page, which is the hero from the front page. So this hero is quite dark, saturated, but still with enough contrast against this text color. And then we have our articles, which are, so the colors are more harmonic, they're lighter. So I think this looks quite cool. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because these colors are completely random, but they are completely dependent on the images that are being uploaded. But it still looks coherent, it still looks harmonic, and it adds this dynamic vibe. You know, every time you enter this website, it's probably going to look a little different because they're going to keep on adding content, which in turn is going to keep on adding colors to the website. And I think it's quite cool that it was the art people that went to go along with this idea. It's sort of the notion that art is something that is existing outside of its own physical boundaries. So even here on the website, the art actually gets to color its surroundings, which I think symbolically is also quite cool. And then we can do cool stuff like letting this hero color here get inherited. So if we go to, for instance, our employees, which is the child page of the previous page, then we see that this hero color has followed us down in the hierarchy. And then we have our user system and portfolios. So both members and non-members of NK can sign up for an account at the website. So the actual user system, so every registered user is stored in Sanity as a document of type user. And for the authentication, we are using NextAuth with some simple email and password credentials. So I'm not going to go into detail about that. But for the actual user management in Sanity, we built a custom plugin. So this is the tool. So here you have complete overview over both, so all your users, both members and non-members, as well as these standard pages for a user system. So login, registration, reset password. So here our editors can actually also edit the contents of those pages. But of course, the main perk of being a member of NK is the possibility to create your own portfolio. So, see, because as I said, both our curators as well as consultants are using NK's website quite heavily, actively, to search out and discover new craft art that they can either buy, sell, or exhibit. So this is actually a great platform and opportunity for these artists to showcase their work. So this is our artist registry, which consists of members of NK that has completed their portfolio. So we wanted to make something in line with what you expect from a social media platform, because that's the kind of profiles and profile editing that people are actually used to. So if we go into a profile here, then it has a pretty familiar setup with a profile and banner image, some key info here, and down here are our projects, the users' projects. So a project is then stored in Sanity as a separate document type called project, and then connected to the user via a reference field. So if we go back to our studio, let's find a member here. So this is a user that is also a member, and through this Documents Paint plugin, we can see all of the projects that are connected to this user. And then if you are logged into your account on the website, then this is how your profile will look like. So it looks the same. Now you have some buttons and options to actually edit your profile, and you can sort of edit the stuff in the place where it's at. And if, as some of you may have noticed, there's also some dynamic color stuff going on here. So the artist can actually select their own profile color based on the banner image that they upload themselves. So this is using the exact same functionality as in the studio. And here we have defined that the selectable colors should be extra lights. So I think it's quite cool that the artists actually get to color their own portfolios. So this profile color is reflected in the artist registry over here. So here we see that the profiles have a slightly varying colors. And then we can also specify a color for each project. So the selectable colors here are based on the first image uploaded. And then also in a profile, a bunch of forms. So of course you can do stuff like create a new project, edit an existing one. And we also have our edit info form right here. So for all these forms, we are using React hook form. So for this one specifically, let's see, we have a hook called use edit user info form hook. And this hook is responsible for, first and foremost, to initiate React hook form and populate it with the default values that we get from the user document in Sanity. And then for the actual mutation, we are using gRPC to connect our front end to our back end. And then we are using Sanity's JavaScript API to do the actual patching. So this is where the actual updating of the user is taking place. So this is all working very smoothly. And of course, we are following Sanity's philosophy of structured content. So some of these options that you can select, like this subject area, so all of these are actually documents in Sanity of type subject area. And so if we go back to our studio, we can see here. So these are all the subject areas, and every user can then select which subject areas they work within. So the long-term plan for these, of course, is to make a page for each one of these subject areas, and then we can very easily retrieve and show all of the user profiles that are related to these subject areas. And then we have what might be the most critical part of the website, which are these forms. So as I said, NK is responsible for a bunch of scholarships, and they're also hosting this yearly exhibition that is actually called the yearly exhibition, or Årsutstillingen, something similar as Höstutstillingen, as some of you are probably familiar with. So for both of these situations, the artists need a way to apply, either for scholarship or to exhibit their art. So NK needed a way to build very flexible and functional forms, as well as a way to process the actual applications. So with Sanity, we built a flexible form builder. So if we go back to our studio, so a form can be built either from scratch, of course, or with field groups, or even form templates. So a field group is a collection of fields that is typically reused across multiple forms. So a field group consists of multiple fields. So this is an array of objects representing different field types. So this is basically also how you would build a form from scratch. And then we have our templates. So for instance, a scholarship has an application round each year, and then, well, one or multiple winners receive the scholarship, and then next year the whole process is repeated. So there might be some slight changes in the form itself or the process, but for those cases, it's nice to actually have a template as a starting point. And then for our actual form, when we create a new one, of course, we can build it from scratch, because the solution obviously also works for simple contact forms, or we can choose to use a template. So if I choose a template here, let's see, then we see that the actual contents of this template is actually copy pasted into our form, and the same goes for our nested field groups. It is a reference field, but the contents of that field group are also copy pasted into our form, and that is to avoid the potential issue. Let's say a user has made a form submission on this form, and then an editor decides to make a change in this field group, but they didn't necessarily have the intention of changing every form where this field group is used. They only wanted to change it for future use, maybe. So that's why we actually copy paste the contents instead of just following the references and grabbing the fields from there via query. Because obviously we want all of our applicants to apply in the same terms, so we don't want the actual form to change between the first submission and the last. And that is also why we actually lock every form from editing once it has received any submission. So a form is built using steps, as we can see here. So in the form, there will be sort of a progress bar where each step's title is shown, and then on the bottom we have a navigation bar with a previous and next button. So the contents of those can also be changed here. And then for each field, we have some options, like you can decide if it's a repeatable field, meaning the user themselves can actually add more of this field. Or we can even say that we want to hide the value of this field for the jury. For instance, if it's a like personal info field and we want the jury to be anonymized. And then we can also do stuff like conditional viewing. So we only want this field to be displayed if another field has a certain value. And then the form itself also has a bunch of options. You can require the user to be logged in to even make the submission. And you can, allow the user to save their submission as drafts, as well as things like maximum number of submissions per user, as well as deadline. So there's a bunch of configurations you can do for each form. And then once a form is up and running, let's see. So as I mentioned, once a form has received a submission, we will lock the form down so they cannot edit it anymore, and then they will see this message that people have responded to this form, so you cannot edit it. And each form submission is also saved and stored in Sanity as a separate document tab called form submission, and then connected to the actual form via a reference field. So also via the Documents pane plugin, we can see here the submissions that are connected to this form, as well as the drafts, if there are any, will also show up here. So let's go to our front end again and see an actual form. If we can find a scholarship here. So this is our form. Here we see the progress bar sort of at the top. Of course, if there was only one step, it would appear as if there were no steps. So for these dynamic forms, we are also using React Hook form. And if we have allowed the user to save a draft, then this button will show up, save as a draft. And then at any point, I can save as a draft and continue the filling at a later stage. So the way I would find back to my form is through my little user menu here and go to my applications. So here I have an overview over all of my form submissions, meaning I've either saved them as a draft or actually submitted them. So the status is all the way to the right. So I haven't actually submitted any of these forms. And I can also change and edit each form up until the deadline is passed. So we see here that the yearly exhibition, the deadline is in like 2 weeks. So I can still go in here and edit the contents of this form. And well, obviously it's already populated with the contents from the form submission document in Sanity. And I can also decide to preview this. So this is how the jury will see this form. So we see here that the whole field group of personalia has actually been hidden, and that's because we want the jury to be anonymized. Which brings us to our final part, which is our juries. So for instance, for this yearly exhibition, of course, there needs to be a jury that is evaluating each artwork and then deciding which artworks actually go to the exhibition. So in Sanity, we can easily create these juries. So a jury is a collection of users that have access to one or multiple forms. So a jury member will have access to view the submissions of these forms, and the managers will also have the capability of marking a submission as approved or denied. And then our actual jury portal lives alongside our main site. So using Next app router, this is basically just a sibling folder to our main site, so it has a little bit different layout, but you can log in using the same user as you would on the main site. And if your user is part of a jury, then you will have access here, and then you will also see all of the forms that you have access to. So here I see that the yearly exhibition has received 53 submissions. I can go in, and here I see that the submissions are actually anonymized, but I can still go into every submission, review it, and because I'm a manager, I can also mark it as approved or denied. And I can also navigate between the submissions right here. Okay, yeah. That was sort of a quick walkthrough over some of the parts of this project. Obviously, there's a lot more. I could talk about it the whole day. But it's been a very learningful, I don't know if that's the English word. I did a lot of stuff for the first time, so I learned a lot. And obviously, Sanity actually played a big part in how it all turned out. I mean, Sanity practically inspired the web design here. So yeah, it was a very fun project to work with. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so well considered.
I wasn't supposed to.
It's okay. Hopefully they can still hear me. Oh, yeah. No, wow, like it went a bit inception-y with the formula and the formula,
Yeah.
but yeah, amazing stuff. Hope you can come back and tell us more
Yeah.
about multi-sites and stuff. But yeah, big applause to Anna. All right, ready for our next speakers? Welcome to the stage. As you know, there's a bit of fiddling, bit of cables, sound, all of that stuff. So our next speakers are from a little shop called Beck. Just like a few nerds doing stuff. No, you all probably know Beck here at least. They have worked with a site called v.no. It's probably a site that people have feelings about. But here it's hopefully going to be all good feelings because they have done some, I suspect, pretty cool stuff that involves, it involves doing stuff with semantic expressions represented as vectors in multidimensional space. I'm not sure if those are going to work actually, unfortunately, because the battery is flat. So you might have to do the awkward thing of sharing this microphone. Is it okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not gonna be awkward at all.
Are you planning to speak at the same time?
We're thinking of a duet.
Duet. Let's see how
Det
this
går bra,
works.
det är inte stress.
Yeah.
Vi kan dela.
There's like one bar.
That's fine, that's good.
Okay.
We'll share. Nej då. Det är bara det.
Yeah, let's skip it. Important part with this microphone is you have to speak right into it. All right, let's get you up on screen. Also,
My shift no.
I think it's good. We're good.
Allt bra för att ja. Vi bara delar. Vi bara byter fram.
All right. Yeah, welcome Sandra and Christopher. And big applause. Take it away. I'll be here if you need me.
Thanks, Luke. This is going to be a hard presentation to do after those two amazing presentations before us. That was just mind-blowing stuff, so kudos. We're here to talk about a project that we've been working on for the last couple of months. Which was basically replatforming a huge site here in Norway, v.no, or our main bus and train, or place to buy train tickets and bus tickets, from some old technology to some new and cool technology.
So okay, I'm not used to this microphone. So for 3 months, we were a part of a team that replatformed and rewrote and redesigned two major websites, v.no and v.se. We implemented a bunch of functionality, moved thousands of pieces of content from one platform to another. First, we'll just introduce the project. Then we'll tell you why we did what we did, and then we'll actually tell you what we did. We will talk about the challenges that we face and how we overcome those. And last but not least, the results and the alerts.
All right, thank you. So, Sandra, who are you?
We did not plan. We planned to have two microphones, but I'm a full stack developer. I've worked at Beck for 7 months. I have a master in informatics from the University of Bergen, and this was my first project. Christopher, who are you?
Thank you. We did some work on the transition. I don't have a master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. My name is Christopher. I am also a full stack developer, more of a front end leaning kind of developer. Well, you have worked there for 7 months. I've been working there for 11 years, so I like stability in my life. And I do not longer sport beer, so I shave, and I feel. I have no idea how I feel about it, to be honest with you. It's a little bit. All right, so. All right, Sandra.
So together we started what we like to call an insane mission. Summer of 2023, we decided to move away from the old platform and CMS and upgrade to something a bit more modern. And we had a deadline of 3 months. So with an insane mission, you also need an insane team. We were a cross-functional team with a lot of people. We were junior, senior, full stacks, engineer, visual, and UX designers, infrastructure designers, web editors, and the team lead. In short, an amazing team.
All right. So I just want to give you a little bit of context as to why we wanted to do this. Our former, or V's former CMS partner, Episode, was they did a good job for many years, I guess. I know, but their license was super expensive, and it was about to expire, or it was about to be renewed in about 3 months' time. Also, in order for us to keep on using that CMS, we really wanted to do an upgrade to get the latest security add-ons and whatnot that we didn't want to do. Also, V is a JVM shop, so there's no .NET competency in-house, and Episerver was a .NET-based kind of thing, so we didn't really have the resources in-house to do anything with the CMS or the content. Also, we really wanted to start sharing stuff across different platforms. So we had our website, but we also wanted to show things in our application. We also wanted to show things on our trains and our buses. Turns out we can't show stuff on trains and buses until we buy new trains and buses. But once we do that, we wanted to be able to do that. We also had a homemade web platform. We had no idea how it really worked. All the people that built that had quit or stopped working so we kind of wanted to re-platform the entire thing as well. And we also had a lot of micro front ends that we wanted to move into a more modern server-side rendered stack, so to speak. So basically, those were like some of the reasons at least we wanted to do a re-platforming service. All right. So in order to do all that, we kind of had to create a plan that we wanted to follow, which was kind of in 3 parts. The first one was just setting up a new platform to put stuff on. We ended up choosing Remix. It's got a lot of public praise lately. Obviously, Next has been around for a long time, and it works really well. But we had some experience building in-house solutions on Remix already, and for a lot of internal tooling. And also, at least to me, using something that's as close to the platform as Remix is, using the original requests and responses, using Fetch API, using cache headers and stuff like that. Just as an aging developer, it felt good to just use the web fundamentals, because once you know them, you kind of you know them forever. While Next.js's APIs are gonna die with Next. Betwa or V is a publicly owned company, so in order for us to get a new content management solution, we had to create a public tender, and in order to kind of shape that tender in a way, we created a few simple proofs of concepts just to figure out like how the data model would work in a few different scenarios. And Sanity straight up won on both the price and simplicity and adaptability, and then the technology stack, because whenever we have a lot of JavaScript engineers, as we do at V, it kind of helps when your CMS or common platform is also based on JavaScript and stuff like that. So, and then finally, we got to work. So we went from me getting a call on my summer vacation to a couple of weeks later having 4 junior developers join our team, and we had 3 or 4 senior developers already. V's main designer was on board. We just had a ton of people. I think we're like 13 or 14 people at the most. So that was a kind of a big deal. And we're really worried about like, is this the right choice? Is this the right technology stack for us? So we had just like one goal in mind, and that was to get to production as soon as possible.
We, of course, met some challenges on the way. One of the first challenges we met was that structuring content is not as easy as it seems. We also had a lot of content to migrate and a harsh deadline. Images turned out to be not as easy to handle. We had some slow loaders, and we had a search that needed improvement.
Right, thanks. Yeah, so I've created a bunch of Sanity projects from scratch, and it just feels right. You get to create your product type, and you create your schemas, and you get to kind of create everything with no history. We had a lot of history. We had like 2,000-3,000 different pages with no structure in them at all. And when you're faced with a challenge like that, it was just a bit unnerving, at least with the tight deadline as we were. And I mean, Sanity, their team, they did their best to kind of help us. We did some workshops with them. We did some workshops on our own, trying to create structured content. But I mean, with a little time to invest in actually doing the restructuring work, where we're kind of stuck in like going back to just creating a page builder model, which Sandy told us not to do, but we did anyway. And we did get started with a little bit of structured content, but to be honest with you, we had like 7 or 8 different types, which we probably have had like 30 or 40. But we still got a little bit of stuff tucked into the structured content thing, but most of them just follows the page builder pattern.
So we did have a lot of content to migrate, and we could have migrated the content, but we decided not to, mostly because we wanted to redesign and restructure our content. And the content was structured in a way that would have made the migration a little bit hard. So we started from scratch. We also had a wonderful platform team, which made it possible for us to deploy one page at a time, which was a really crucial part in our process because we did some mistakes, and deploying one page at a time that allowed us to uncover them quite quickly and fix them. We were also very quick in production. Apparently, I didn't know. I'm new. So I was okay. But Christopher assured me that we were quick in production. So we had over thousands of pages to migrate, and rewriting pages can be quite a repetitive job. Some might say boring. We had a lot of fun doing it. We created a content hub. We had 2 of them. We had a team. We had posters. We bought alcoholic-free beer. We had
Christmas sweaters.
yeah. We also had a soundbox in an open landscape, which was not as popular choice with the others in the office, but we had a lot of fun. So for the next Contentella, we were told to go to the basement. But altogether, it ended up being one of my favorite days in the office.
Right. Yeah, I gotta say, like, this has literally been one of the coolest projects I've ever worked on. It was so much fun. I spent so much money on promotional stuff and stickers and buttons and stuff. I probably have more stickers than you guys do. We did struggle a little bit with image handling. As you all probably know, Sanity is wonderful at images. Like their CDN is really wonderful. You get to set focal points and crop images and stuff, but you do not get to translate alternative texts, which was kind of a pain in the ass. To us at least, perhaps you do, but no one told us how to. So we struggled a little bit with that. We also had some kind of enterprisey needs, like we wanted to have credits for every photo. We also had an expiry date for every photo for as long as we had the rights to use it and stuff like that. So we tried to model that in like 7 or 8 different iterations. It was just really hard. At some point, we even tried to fork the image gallery plugin, or not fork it, just copy the entire code base into our code base, which kind of worked until we realized we now had Redux in our code base. And I said stop. No Redux. All right, and then we basically eventually landed on something that worked okay, although not perfect still. We don't have centralized alternative texts, so you can translate it, but you have to do it every time you want to reuse a photo. So if you have a solution to this, good, or any of you, please let us know, because That was a lot of consultancy hours.
So as Christopher said, Sanity told us to not use a page builder for all our content, and we use the page builder for all our content. Some of our queries ended up being a little bit slower, but caching saved the day. And we used a stale-wide revalidate cache, which allows the user to not to always get the latest page from the cache. And yeah.
All right. And lastly, wasn't really a challenge, but it was like so. Sanity, you can create good searches with Sanity with Grok, right? You have the match keyword, and you have the you have scoring and stuff like that. So you can kind of make something work. But what you can't do with Sanity is to look for like typos or what the user really meant. Yeah, so like our first iteration of our search wasn't all we wanted. So we could have gone with Algolia or some other third-party search provider. And at some point we probably will, but again, we is a publicly owned company and we have to do public tenders for everything we really want to buy. So sometime like 2025 or we'll look at that. But we came up with a second solution, or a third solution, which was Sanity's new embeddings index search. So if you don't know what the embeddings index search is, except for really hard word to pronounce it, it's close to a microphone, is it's quite simple, really. So you have all these words, and they're scored with numbers and something called vectors, right? And to be honest with you, I have no idea how it works. I just know that it works. So if you type something in to a query, it will literally just give you reasonable results back, which is really good. So it handles synonyms and what you really meant kind of queries really well. So if you type in support, you get customer service. Or if you mean bus replacement train, it gives you train replacement buses and stuff like that. And obviously it's not perfect, but it's pretty good if you don't need like full control. If you need like good enough searches, it's just wonderful. And it took me a day, I think, to implement. So it was super quick and super easy. And the way you do it is basically you create an index name. You can't override them, so you have to like create different versions of them. Select the data set, create a filter, and then you kind of project it into what you want to feed to the model. And then magic ensues, I guess. So we do this, if you go to the next slide, for questions and answers. This is in Norwegian. You can type it in if you want, but you get pretty quick answers. It was pretty nice. And even though like it doesn't say get my money back anywhere on it, it kind of it works very well. And it could work even better if you added something like we have AI assist now, right? So we can use AI assist to create another field in our documents that just create that's called like create a really nice reusable or searchable excerpt of this text, and then index that, and then that will be much more like what we want to do. So yeah, so if you have the option of using embeddings indexes today, please give it a try.
since mid-October. And the editors are happy with their branded workspace. Whoa, look how pretty. They also enjoy a quicker turnaround on feature requests. We are using Sanity data for both v.no and v.se through various data sets, and we also use some of it for our app, and we want to use it for other websites within the enterprise soon. We were really happy with the way Remix turned around, and we successfully met our timeline. So editors were happy, business were happy, developers were happy, we're all happy.
All right, so some key learnings to take away from this. When you approach a project like this, working with a tightly-knit cross-functional team of both junior developers and designers, and senior developers and designers, and business people, and content people, and product people, is just paramount for your success. So please, if you're ever trying to re-platform a million visitors a week or a month or whatever page, please do it with the right team. Also, being able to launch page by page through some Terraform magic and some Lambda functions and God knows what, it really helped us to kind of test out, does this query work? Do we need to add more caching? Does it compile? It helped us lower the risk of just launching. We used CloudFront in front of our website, which takes on about 95 to 98% of all requests. So even though we have a lot of traffic, we don't have to pay you guys too much. I'm just kidding, it's an enterprise deal, let me get killing. And also, like, scalable revalidate is really, really nice because you get to show content, you cache it for, let's say, 30 seconds, and then if another request comes in after that, you basically get to renew the cache in the background while still serving the client really quickly. So it doesn't really matter if you have a page filter pattern or not, it turns out. Also, if you want to do a cooler search than you have already in Sanity, just try out the embeddings index. It's super easy, well documented, still in beta, but we use it in production, so works well for us. So I guess that was it for us. If you had, like, this photo is from us at one of the Comicellos where Sandra, like, beat me savagely in mini air hockey. But if you do have any questions, please let us know. We'll join you to call at Istanbul. And here's our email addresses. You'll find us on the internet if you're stalking enough. And we're also on the Sanity Slack. So I guess thanks, Tom, for listening.
All right, there's windows open. Jag tror den är tillbaka. Let's see. Let's just make sure I have sound. All right. All right. Thanks for staying with us so far. It's the last talk before we go out, and hopefully you'll join us to Centralen. We have something to show you. And I think some of you have been waiting for this for a while. It's going to be translatable alt text. Turns out you could mutate your image asset documents all along, but we just don't want you to. Yeah. Anyways, the good thing about speaking in a meetup is that you get to do it in front of all the product managers who are like squirming in their chairs while they're seeing the real stuff. Yeah, but no, we appreciate it. We are not always happy to get that type of feedback because then we know how we can make it better, which we want. So yeah, anyways, I'm here to talk about not that much that, maybe a bit, but this more. I'm not going to go into gruesome technical detail. We'll save that for the bears later. But I want to kind of like tell you a bit about kind of like our process here and stuff. I'm that guy. I've been at Sanity since 2018. Actually, the last thing I did, I used to work in a place called NetLife. You might have heard about NetLife. Some of you might be here even. And it was clear that I was going to start at Sanity. So what they did was to send me to Oslo. I worked in Bergen to this. I think they were called NSB back then, or something. And I did like they wanted to explore other CMSs. So I sat at the other table of some Beck consultants to talk about how great Craft CMS is. But the Beck consultants only want to talk to me about Sanity. So I was like, okay. So yeah, interesting how that turned out. Anyways, why are we talking about TypeScript? Whenever I'm to talk about TypeScript, I am in very danger of becoming this guy. I'll try to not become that guy, but okay, let's go. So TypeScript. TypeScript is great because it makes JavaScript type-safe-ish. And what that means is that it can catch bugs, so you don't have to. And it gives you like autocomplete and tooltips, and there's TS docs that gives you like inline documentation in your editor. If someone wrote that inline documentation, that is. It can be good for collaboration and onboarding because it's much clearer, like, what is this function returning? Oh yeah, it's returning a string. That's great. And then it probably makes you more hireable, I think. Keep seeing TypeScript coming up in job ads. And yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity for new like bike shedding and neck shaving. It's like more tooling. Don't we love that, right? Some try to kind of like take tooling out of TypeScript. Let's see how that goes. TypeScript is also becoming kind of like the standard and stuff. So like when you start a new Next project, it defaults to TypeScript. So maybe this fall, Guillermo Rauch will say like it's called Next TS now, or something. Anyways, people are using it more and more and more. Maybe because of that reason, but yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. I think. So yeah, TypeScript is awesome. I think many of you would agree, except when it's not, but that's okay. Can't all be like shiny and gold and so on. Anyways, the problem or the issue. Remember April 2020? It was someone's concern in April 2020 that like it was kind of sucked to use TypeScript with Gatsby. That was like top of mind at that point. It would be kind of neat if there were like a CLI command to just like solve that. It also recognizes that it is a subtle problem. And yeah, like there's like a point there. Like we have the schema. You have all done the schema. It's like simple JavaScript objects. You can make them way less simple, as we saw today. But it's kind of like typing your content. It's kind of that this is what all about, right? But these are like they only kind of control the forms in the studio, which kind of like implicitly creates the structured content in the content lake that's schemaless. So yeah, and then you throw this weird thing into the mix, this grok thing, and yeah, like you all have to just type this yourself, or as someone told me, they made their own thing that infers types from the schema, because now it's 2024. This was in 2020 when this person raised this. So yeah, so why shouldn't this be easy? Like GraphQL does it. Like why can't we just do it, right? Well, you know, this is a very small grok query. It's like very neat. It's not like 200 lines long yet. But the tricky part with grok is like you can basically change the data inside of the projection, right? So whatever it was supposed to be in the schema, that isn't the case anymore. And we have to kind of like deal with that. Detour. GraphQL. This is our CTO. He was recently in Texas. But he said, and he allowed me to quote him, like GraphQL is more of an API pattern. It's like it's a pattern for API. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's great, but it has some constraints, right? It's supposed to be strict and kind of like keep you in check, and that's what you want in some cases. But Grok is something else. It's actually a query language, so it lets you express all of these things. And then you have this guy. When he tries to explain the difference and try to defend himself on parties, well, why don't you just use GraphQL? Well, two different things. GraphQL is more like an alternative for REST. Grok is more like SQL for JSON, as you have seen today. Like, who hasn't written a 200-line long SQL query at some point? The same you can do with Grok. We are using Grok to resolve our GraphQL API as well. And you can't, well, you probably could do it the other way around, but you shouldn't. That would be an interesting project. So yeah, we also have like a lot of clever people on staff. So why the heck did it take us so long? Well, technically, it's not that quotation mark hard of a problem. It's solvable. But we have to make a lot of decisions on behalf of a lot of people, including you. So when we do that, we have to kind of like stick with it for a while because we kind of don't like to break stuff, even though we do accidentally sometimes. But we try to avoid that. We want to kind of like keep that contract sacred, right? And it's sometimes hard to make those decisions. Sometimes it's hard because you don't kind of know what people expect or what they're trying to do and all of that. So that's why we're doing stuff like this to learn, right? And yeah, null behavior in JavaScript. Don't get me started. Okay, before diving in, we have to kind of give some credit because while we were kind of like discussing null behavior and stuff like that, some people actually got to work. And one of them is Rico. And he made Sanity, which some of you might have used. I think it was the first project that kind of tried to do this properly, and he came a pretty long way. The only mistake was that we hired him. And then he had to do other stuff. That was not this. And then we came out with this Studio V3 that kind of broke the API thing. So like the thing I said about not breaking APIs, like sometimes we have to. But yeah, we hired Rico. And then we have GrokD. And this is a different take. It's developed by an agency called Formidable, which is now called Nairform. And they use kind of like more of a pattern that's from SOD. So it's kind of like a way to give runtime safety. And it's kind of like this query builder, and that kind of like excuse, like types comes out from this. It's kind of like a bit opinionated, but that's fine. That's perfect. And then we have Cheyenne, who has done a project called Sanity Typed, which is pretty Galaxy brain, to be honest. He has a lot of packages and so on. And what's special with this is that he has managed to make a type parser in TypeScript. So this does it runtime kind of, which is super neat when you are in VS Code and everything just like magically like updates and so on. However, since it's implemented in TypeScript, it doesn't scale that well. Like if you have a lot of stuff and like 200 lines of Grok queries and so on, it's like your machine gets warm, kind of. TypeScript wasn't kind of designed for that, but it's pretty amazing that he is able to do that. So fully support that. Like if we could, we wanted to kind of like just say that one of these approaches is like the official, and that's it. But yeah, huge thank you to these contributions. And they're not going away. Like what we are going to go into now is it's only going to make these projects simpler. Okay, pause for laughter. Okay, thank you. All right. Introducing Sanity Type Gen. It's here, folks. For the stream, there's like it's ear deafening applause and booze. Yeah, here we go. All right, I will tell you what that is. It's kind of like 3 parts. First, you have to extract your schema from the JavaScript land and put it into JSON land. And it's a command. So you say Sanity schema extract, and then it kind of like looks at your schema, thinks about it, extracting it, and extracted. And what you end up with is kind of like, here you have like your schema definition, and on the other side you have like a sweet JSON representation of that. It's not JSON schema, it's like our bespoke thing for our purposes, but that is kind of like a neat static representation of your schema. And you can use that for a lot of other things. Our plugin and or like our TypeScript contributors and so on can kind of like use it for their tooling. But that's kind of like the first step. Second step, generate types from the studio schema. So yeah, again, it's the Sanity command, Sanity type generate. And then it looks at your Sanity schema, and then it produces TypeScript types for it. Pretty awesome. Let's see. It looks like this. It's a TypeScript type of your schema, I expect. And you can see that there's like some weird stuff going on. Internal Grok type reference to. This is where we kind of like lend a hand to like folks like making the GrokD thing, so they can kind of like make their tooling like a bit easier. And the reason we made it a symbol is it doesn't kind of like appear in your autocomplete and so on. Like stuff you have to figure out. And then the last step, and this is kind of like the crux, right? Yay. All right. But you have to do some stuff. You don't just get this for free, right? So for this to work, you have to assign your queries to a variable. But you all know how to assign something to a variable, I hope. If not, you're not using TypeScript. And you have to kind of have a globally unique name. And the reason for that will be obvious soon, I hope. So might be the time to just collate all your queries in one file, maybe. But yeah. And then it has to be a syntactically valid grok expression. And that's a bit of a spicy one, because I know that some of you use like template strings and so on to kind of like reuse stuff in your grok queries. And that template string has to be valid grok if you want to have that typed. But you'll figure it out, I'm sure. Maybe we'll figure it out for you. And then you have to use the grok template literal. So that's the little weird thing where you can import grok and then you attach it to the backtick first. And if you do all of this, I did it on our website repo, and that looks like this. Oh yeah. All right. Well, there are types for 12 grok queries. This is going to be a lot of yours first experience, because we did a thing where we can like take a part of grok and like it's not a valid grok expression. It's just like a string that we paste into other things, right? But this is an important part of developer experience. We tell you where you have done that so you can fix it. That's the feature. Yeah. So here is how that looks in that sanity.types.ts file. And you can see this is it's not the most advanced grok query I've seen today, but it's fairly out there. And yeah, it kind of works, or it does work. And then we also kind of like tell you where it's from and what the variable name is, so you can like, if you need to debug and stuff, like you can do that. So yeah, so this is kind of like the flow. You can kind of like add those commands to kind of like an npm script, and then we kind of do the whole shebang. And then you can switch out your Annie with like a post query result, and then you have grok result TypeScript. That's it, folks. It's here, right? This is very sweet. It's like, it's so painful to manually type these things, right? Who has time for that? Whew. Right. So, most of the grok is supported, and we're still adding support for more of the functions where it makes sense, kind of. Unsupported expressions will become unknown, so they're easy to find. And then we're using this scary thing where we can send data to the cloud from what you did. But like, if there's an unknown, we'll like, if you opt into the telemetry or didn't opt out, I don't remember how it works here. Then we will kind of see that, and then we can use that data to make some decisions about, oh, we should support this edge case because everyone is kind of like stumbling into it and so on. So yeah, that's mostly it. Sanity TypeGen will be available in beta because we need to learn more about how it's actually going to be used and what kind of like issues you will stumble into or not. So yeah, it was here on Tuesday. We didn't tell you about it, but yeah, it's here. Woo! So you just install it with whatever package manager you're using this week. So all of those are real, by the way. I'm not sure if VLT actually have come out yet, but yeah, it's on the way. Yeah, you can go here to the docs. We are finishing up the docs. We're probably going to tell the world on Monday or Tuesday next week. So you have the weekend to get ahead, right? But yeah, we do want to know if it works or if it doesn't work and why and how and why and all of those things. So feel free to tell us. You can reach us in the Slack community. There's a TypeScript channel there that might get more popular now. But yeah, we are very happy to get this out to you and kind of like have this done. And it's because of especially these people like Sindre and Tonina, Holm, Martin, and Richard. That's kind of like the core team. Of course, a lot of people at Sanity has had opinions about this stuff. So thank you to them as well for having those opinions. But yeah, big applause for this team. All right. It's not like a new iPhone or anything, but it's a small little thing. So if you don't have Vision Plus and just regular Vision, you might get some types in it soon, which is neat sometimes. But I think what this is actually telling you is that this is the foundation of more tooling for Grok. Is like there's a lot of things we can build on here that we are excited to investigate and so on. So yeah, I hope you join us for beers afterwards and remove all your Annies in your Sanity projects. That's it. That's the tweet. Yeah. Right on schedule. Thank you so much for coming. We didn't fall through the floor yet, so that's good. Again, do join us at Centralen. There's a bit of pizza left. You can take that. There's probably more beer and stuff, but we are trying to get out of here in the next 20 minutes ish. And then again, thank you. And I look. Oh, that's a pretty good sit. Wait. That's a very good idea. Can the speakers come up to the stage, and then we can take one of those gruesome, very cringy selfies. LinkedIn photos. Yes. So, Thomas, there you are. Hopefully, do you have long arms? Let's see. Do the 0.5x out. I can hold the phone. It has to be a selfie. Not have the prop. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. TypeScript, everyone! All right. Okay. Well, oh yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah, and thank you to all of these amazing speakers. Okay. Mingle time.
Can you just leave this up for like 1 second?